Hello everybody, my dear students, and welcome to my new course. It's called Object-Oriented Programming with C++. We are going to introduce in a few short lessons the most important OOP concepts. In general, programming is modeling. Using coding, you trying to create models of real life things. And OOP is a tool to help you um, to model real life things. We call them objects in programming. An object can be anything. So using object-oriented programming, you can create object about students, cars, planes, flights, books, invoices, anything you can imagine can be an object. Object has some data and behavior. So basically it's a combination of two things, some data and some functions, some coding. So an object supposed to do certain things. For example, if I create or if I try to present student in my program, and if I make an object, student object, it may have certain data, fields, properties, for example, name, address, email, phone number, marks. At the same time, students supposed to do certain things. A student supposed to register, supposed to finish courses, supposed to sometimes, God forbid, but sometimes students drop off, students pass exams. So I may combine in a student object data about certain students and functions, behavior, actions a student can do. Of course, when we're talking about OOP, sometimes programmer using OOP to um, define programming stuff. For example, if I'm a programmer and if I'm developing um, mobile applications, I may treat buttons, lists, windows as objects. It's a very common approach when user interface elements in programming are presented as objects. The same way I can treat some data structures as objects. So what I mean is objects not necessarily real things. It can be, for example, data structures. It can be arrays, trees, dictionaries. It can be stacks. So you may make it easy, your programming tasks, if you apply object-oriented approach to your day-to-day programming. So basically, object-oriented approach doesn't have any limits. Anything can be an object or a class. We will discuss later on the difference between a class and object. But please keep in mind, OOP is just a tool. It's just a helper. Some languages, they don't have OOP features like C. And you can still create very good, robust programs without OOP. Or vice versa, you can create very bad software using object-oriented approach. So it's not um, basically universal tool to make software high quality. It's all depends on the programmer, the same way as a hammer or a saw or screwdriver. They are just just tools, and only if a handyman can take them, can perform certain tasks, those tools make sense. If you don't know how to use a screwdriver, a saw, a hammer, then they're useless. So we are going to cover in a few lessons the most important object-oriented programming concepts. When we discuss OOP, we need a language. We cannot discuss OOP without concrete language. And I decided to take C++ in order to explain OOP. However, good news is all the OOP concepts I'm going to discuss, they are absolutely universal. And if you understand them, if you understand what we're going to cover, it's going to be very easy for you to learn Java or Kotlin or Swift, because everything in OOP basically universal. The concepts, the big pictures, the ideas, they are absolutely the same, but technical details, of course, are different. C++ is not Java, Java is not Swift, and any language implements object-oriented programming in its own way. When we discuss object-oriented programming classes, we need, of course, some examples. They should be the examples the teacher uses. They should be, from the one hand, simple, not very long. On the other hand, they should be meaningful, comprehensive, so they should be able to illustrate all the important stuff. So what I'm going to use in my course is three classes or objects. We will discuss the difference. And it's a rectangle, it's a filled rectangle, and it's a box. What we can do with them, we can change the size of those objects. So we have two functions or two methods to grow, reduce, increase, shrink to reduce, draw to draw objects on the screen. And you see right away one interesting feature. Different object may implement similar behavior, but of course in different ways. So rectangle going to have just an outline. So in order to define rectangle, we going to need width, height, and the character to draw the outline. Rectangle object doesn't have fill. Filled rectangle is rectangle with a fill. So in order to define it, we need four numbers: the width, the height, the outline character, and the fill character. And finally, box object going to consist of 6 rectangle objects. It's going to have front rectangle, back rectangle, right rectangle, left rectangle, top rectangle, and bottom rectangle. So box is basically composition of 6 rectangles. So during the course, we are going to use those 3 classes or objects: rectangle, field rectangle, box, and we will use 3 methods to manipulate them: grow, shrink, and draw. A few words about the outline. So what you're going to expect in the next lessons. So let me show you the course outline. So we have 8 short lessons about object-oriented programming. First lesson is just an introduction, what I'm doing now. It's lesson number 1. In lesson number 2, I'm going to show you an example of object-oriented approach, but without C++, because even in C, you can still create something like objects and classes. That would be an interesting demo, how to try to implement OP concepts without object-oriented language. You may know that C is procedural language. We have functions, but we don't have classes and objects. By the way, basic C language is needed. In order to grasp this course, you need to know basic stuff about C. And if you don't, please watch my course C Hurdles. Lesson number 3, we have a lot of terms and definitions in the next lesson. We are going to talk about classes, objects, instantiation, constructors, data members, member functions, instance variables, encapsulation or data hiding, and special methods to access data. We call them getters and setters. Lesson 4, very important topic, static members. Static members are kind of special members of the class, and we need to understand why we need them sometimes. Lesson 5, how to combine from simple classes more advanced classes. We call this approach composition. Lesson 6, how to inherit classes. It's another way to reuse existing classes, so you may see inheritance as another way. Composition is first technique to reuse existing classes to build up more advanced classes based on existing classes. Inheritance is a second way to develop, to reuse existing classes to make them more advanced, more complicated. Lesson 7, we are going to talk about virtual functions, polymorphism, late binding, and finally, the last lesson is abstract classes, classes that basically not finished. We cannot use them, they not done. However, they may be very important because they establish certain patterns you're supposed to later on implement in classes that inherit from abstract classes. So that's the idea. 8 short lessons, but after you understand all concepts in C++, believe me, it's going to be easy to master the same concepts in any other language. What tools I'm using? First of all, it's Notepad++, so I'm using bare bones tools, very simple text editor. I'm not using integrated development environment to make it simpler. I compile my C or C++ programs using GCC compiler or G++ compiler, open source compiler. So I'm trying to make my course bare bones, minimal. If you're interested, I can show you how you can download command line compiler. So the project where you can get it is called Cygwin. Cygwin is basically a huge collection of Linux tools adopted for Windows. You can consider Cygwin as a bridge between Linux world and Windows world. And C originally was created under Unix, so that's why we download C compiler using Cygwin portal. So if you want to install command line compiler, just download setup program, go through the screens, just take everything you see on your screens by default. The only confusion may be when you reach screen when you see select packages. So this is the most important screen because you have so many packages you can download. So I suggest to find the right package, click in the view list category, then you see all the packages combined by categories. Developer, that's what you need, devel category, and then you have to download package which is called GCC-G++, GCC-G++, and usually I select the latest version when I install it. So you may choose the version of the package if you want. And here we are. You're going to have it on your Windows. You have to install, of course, path to your compiler. I hope it shouldn't be a problem to set up a path in your computer properties to find it. So let me show you where the compiler is installed. C drive, Cygwin64 bin. So that's the folder you have to add to your path variable, because in this folder you have all the compilers you need. So basically, I explain you the idea of the course. I explain you the outline, how many lessons we are going to go through. I explain you the tools I am going to use, Notepad++ and open source GCC G++ compiler. Of course, nobody is against integrated development environment, By all means, if you feel comfortable, you can use uh, Microsoft Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Code. If you Mac user, you can use Xcode to compile all the programs in our course. So it's up to you. I'm not against integrated development environments. But in order to make my course simpler and bare bones, I'm using just command line tools and very simple bare bones text editor, Notepad++. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate if you share my videos, if you put likes, if you subscribe for my channel, if you invite your friends to my channel. All the best. And next lesson, we are going to try to create our first classes and objects using just traditional C. Lesson number 2 is about OOP without C++. Thank you and see you soon. Bye bye.